Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I've got a question here from Robert Willing, who has I think he's got a YouTube channel. I don't know, I think it's StarCraft is a YouTube channel. Anyway, Robert, who I've done some shows with in the past, with all this moving and everything, nothing is getting done now. But he's got a question. It's an interesting one, and I'm curious to see if this is kind of a universal opinion, or different people. Your mileage may vary, as they say. So, his question was basically this. Um, with Marvel using Alex Ross exclusively for covers, and I think he's been exclusive for covers for a while now. Like I want to say it's been at least 5 years, maybe 10. Is that right? That doesn't sound right, but it feels right. It's been a while. Um, with Marvel using Alex Ross exclusively for covers, does that start to diminish the draw and appeal of Alex Ross? Does his work start to feel less special? And it's an interesting question because my initial reaction, my gut was, well, no, of course not. Alex Ross is an amazing artist. I mean, I think you can pick up a cover. Some of his work on Captain America when he was doing those covers for the Ta-Nehisi Coates run were beautiful. Like there's some really clever, really good Captain America there. He's great. I mean, in many ways, if you could have Alex Ross do a 64-page kind of OGN for Cap. I mean, for any character, I've spoiled it here. It would be Cap for me. I mean, he does such an amazing Captain America. He does other great work too, but I think he's really great at that. So my initial reaction was like, no, his work is still good. But the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion of actually, yeah, they are kind of ruining, in many cases, what they have with Alex Ross. Because what's happening is we're seeing Alex Ross is a great artist across the board. If you look at where he's actually done the comics, where he's done the full everything, interiors, you get Alex Ross art that is where he's doing big characters, kind of standing, flying, fighting, sitting, all different kind of poses because he's telling a story through his artwork. When you get Alex Ross on the covers, you're getting kind of an iconic pinup-like poster image of the character. And it's good. Make no mistake about it. The art is great. You could take that out and make a poster of it, put it on a t-shirt, whatever you want to do. Makes a great screensaver. It's cool. But we've basically lost the storytelling. We're no longer getting stories. And when you think about Alex Ross, I think you think about, or what comes to my mind is he is a great storyteller. And I made this point before. It's in comics there's this weird thing right now where you say, well, the story comes from the writer, and then the artist does the pictures for that story. And I think that's incredibly ignorant, and it's demeaning to the artist. The artist is just as much of a storyteller as the writer. The writer's coming up with the plot, very important to the book, no doubt about it. But the artist has to then create the visuals to make this story connect, to make it all, come together. If you just have, an artist drawing pinups, you don't have a story. It could still be great art, but ultimately you're giving away the value of the storyteller piece. One other interesting thing, and I'm trying to be very careful here because none of this is a knock against Alex Ross. It's actually a knock against how companies are using Alex Ross. If you look at Art Adams is another amazing storyteller. Mark Brooks does covers as well. Brooks, man, I can't even remember the last time Brooks did interior art. Like he's been covers forever. But Peach Momoko is a great storyteller, often used for covers, but we're still getting some work. But go back to Art Adams for a minute. Art Adams actually kind of puts a lot of effort into still doing storytelling with his comics. If you're looking at some of his amazing Spider-Man covers that he's doing, he's only doing the covers. But if you notice, many of those there's certainly some pinup style art there, but there's other ones where he almost seems to be kind of begging and screaming out, let me tell a story. Because there's one in particular with Spider-Man kind of in the hospital, and there's almost like panels on this cover of how he drew it. And if you look, a lot of he's trying to actually do a little bit more. I think that's great. Again, I'd rather see Art Adams interior art, absolutely. But I think if you take a really high quality artist and you migrate them into covers only, then eventually you're going to get a lot of the same poses, same scenes, other things. Again, I'd love to know from the artist, like Alex Ross, is he bored? He puts out some amazing Captain America covers, but if you look at them all, like you lay them out all on the table, you look at all the covers he did, they start to feel the same. Even though he's doing very different things, it's like Captain America heroic pose, Captain America heroic pose. It just kind of over and over and over. And again, beautifully rendered. But if I'm Alex Ross, I'd be like, I'd be bored out of my mind. It's like, all right, how do I want to have Captain America looking brave and leaping into action in this scene? And maybe in this one we can have him standing and kind of looking concerned about the future of America. And maybe in this one he can be I don't know, in some peril, but he's going to make it because he's Captain America. It's like at some point, if I'm Alex Ross, I'm like, yeah, I'm tired of this. I've done enough of these covers. And I think that over time, the customers also get tired of it. Alex Ross doing an iconic superhero cover, Captain America cover, even though it's going to be amazing, it does not feel as special as it used to. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that would be cool. Oh, we got, like, sometimes when the comic is promoted, it's like, and there's a special Alex Ross cover. It's like, all right. I mean, that's cool. I know it'll be a good cover. I don't get super excited about that, but cool. There were people, and there have been people who collect comics just for the cover. Certainly that's been the case for a few. J. Scott Campbell is probably the cleanest example these days of customers who will buy it for the J. Scott Campbell cover, which makes sense why a bunch of people are trying to get him booted out of Marvel. So, because of the organs, because there aren't any organs. But there used to be people, certainly, who would come into my shop and say, I want all of the Alex Ross covers. And, again, I don't know right now, but I remember that starting to trickle off back in 2019. And my guess is that's trickled off a lot further, again, because there's plenty of supply. There's more money in covers for a lot of these artists, is why they do it. But I think if both for the artist and for the publisher, I think it's smart if they don't overdo it. And I think with where you have some of these superstar artists, you can ruin the specialness of what they bring to the table, taking money out of your pocket. And for the artist, you're losing kind of one of your key gifts. Again, storytelling. If you look at some of Alex Ross's work, he is a master storyteller. He can make it's that sequential art of getting the eye to go from one panel to the other and kind of telling this story. He was very good at that. I say was in past tense. He probably still is, but I say was because we don't get to see that anymore. All we get is the cover, and I think that's a huge loss for him, for customers, for fans, for people who like his work. I think we're not getting something that we like. That sounds. So I get, whenever I say something like that. By the way, every single time I always get a mail, usually from the same person, that goes. It's the same exact mail every time. It goes, that sounds very entitled. Why should the fans demand anything? I'm like, if nobody's demanding anything, come on. I say most customers, most fans, most readers who love Alex Ross art would like more Alex Ross art. If they were allowed to choose, they would choose more. So to say that keeping him just on covers is a disappointment for fans who want more, it's not entitled. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that path. A video for another time. I always hate that. Oh, do you have a request? Oh, you're entitled. It always feels to me like you got to take what we're going to give you. It's like, okay, I mean, okay, or not, or we won't take what you give us. But stop making it weird. Anyway, so the question goes out to you: Is Alex Ross? Is his value dropped because they've kept him exclusively for covers and done plenty of covers. Has is that do you view it as harmful? Do you not care? Would you like to see him do interiors? What happens if another 10 years go by and we get nothing but Alex Ross covers? Um, at what point do we start calling him a cover artist and not a comic artist? Is that fair? Sounds like an insult again, especially to somebody who's a master of his craft. I'd like to see more of his art. I guess I'd like to see more of all these people's art. It is one of the annoyances of comics right now, where there's a lot of artists who are perfectly capable of doing interior art. They just need to be paid more. Um, I I remember this is certainly a video for another time, but maybe it kind of concludes the point well. I remember I was at a retailer summit, and I'm forgetting now whether there's a representative for Marvel, but it was a pretty high level one, and I want to say David Gabriel, but it doesn't sound right. The voice, like the memory voice, is not right in my head. But I'm trying to think who else it could be. Anyway, they're making a comment about Walt Simonson had done some covers, and so one of the retailers was like, "I love Walt Simonson, and I grew up with Walt Simonson, and I wish you would get him to do more interiors." And the comment came back from Marvel of, well, he's older. He just can't keep up with the monthly pace. Like, he's not really interested in doing interiors. He's more of just a cover artist. I remember thinking that was weird because just like a couple of years earlier, we had like there was some Fear Itself comic. Was it Fear Itself? It was one of the events, and Walt Simonson had done some interiors. He for Marvel. He'd done a comic. It looked fine. Looked like good old Walt Simonson. But the guy from Marvel was very smug. That's probably why I think it was Gabriel. With the like, oh, he's past his moment for doing interior work, you know. But there's a door open for covers for a Legend, but he's kind of making it sound, or maybe I took it this way, like he's too feeble to do full comics. All he could do is just covers. And then the announcement of Ragnarok, the Walt Simonson book, came out shortly thereafter, and that book looks absolutely incredible. IDW needs a good kick in the ass for not promoting that book more, because that was an awesome book that they absolutely let fly under the radar. But you've gotta check that out. If you're right now listening to this, going the what now, you have to look at that. It is an absolutely impressive book. But that's Walt Simonson. Looks incredible. Um, you know, it's great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions, comments. Curious to get your opinions on this. And thanks for listening.